you guys.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm excited
Thanks
to
for having us.
talk to you all tonight. So we are here right next to the Chinese Theater in the heart of Hollywood. And it makes me think about what your guys' first big Hollywood moment was. You know, was it walking on a red carpet for the first time, being on a big set for the first time? Is there something you remember about that?
Hollywood moment?
Your first Hollywood moment.
Let's kick that one.
I'll go.
Sure.
You can go. Okay. I was. How old was I, Mom? I was like 6. Hi,
Her
Mom.
mom's in the front row.
I think I was like 6 or 7, and I did an episode of The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. And I was at a bowling alley for my sister's birthday, and that was the first time I got recognized by a group of girls who watched the show, and I will never forget that moment. It was my sister's birthday, and I signed autographs on plates. It was really cool.
That's a good one. What about you, Jenny?
I think this feels like one, first of all. So there's that. But I think for me, it was when I was on SNL and perpetually nervous and scared, as many people are. And the host was Sigourney Weaver. And I was just so excited to see her in person. And she was talking about going to drama school and how everyone in theater school told her that she wasn't going to make it and it just wasn't going to happen for her. And I had a nice week with her, and I don't know if she would ever remember this, but the day of the show, she turned to me and she was like, so if anybody ever tells you that you can't do it, you just look at them and you say, fuck it. And that I was like, well, if that is what it is, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
How old were you when she said that? That's awesome.
It was cool. What's that?
How old were you when she said that? That's awesome.
I was 11 and I'm now
Amazing.
19.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
It's my mom's life advice.
You look very mature.
Thank you, yeah.
All right, Logan, what do you got?
You know, I wish I had a great story to tell. I really don't. You know, I was really young when I started, so I'd say it was probably that first moment walking on to the first set I ever worked on. It was just so enormous, so grand. It was a pretty big movie, and I just
What
remember
film was
that
it?
It was The Patriot. I was really young. It was a long time ago. You know, it was prop work. You know, they just bring a kid in, and that age, I was that young where it was like, it was not a performance. You just come out there and bring the kid in, and you stand here and smile, and that's all you do.
It was
really.
like featured set decoration.
Yeah,
Come
pretty
on,
much.
There's more to it than that, of course.
No, there really wasn't that much more to it. At least at that period of time. But I just remember that experience of walking on set. There was horses, there were, explosions of special effects and all this amazing, magical movie stuff, and it was a pretty Hollywood moment, I guess.
A good one.
Well, I don't know. There's so many when you're young. I mean, I started when I was about 10 years old, and I mean, there's a whole different world of sort of the private life of acting, which is like our relationships on set and sort of all of those sort of new beginnings and discoveries. But it doesn't feel very Hollywood, in a way. But I guess maybe the first time that sort of transcended and it felt a little bit more Hollywood was I worked on this film called Contact, directed by Robert Zemeckis, and I was like 11 years old, and I remember going on set to I think sort of meet with Jodie and test out my contacts and just kind of generally say hello, and they were eating lunch, and it was lunch, and it's an incredible thing on a giant, I don't even know what the budget of that film was. It was probably upward of, $20 million, and, lunches are an incredible thing. So there's this, there's this guy, basically doing any kind of pasta you want. There's, a taco thing. There's, a giant truck of craft service. And for me, I grew up, without, any sort of fancy food in my life, and I love that Hollywood for me represents food. I'm like, oh my gosh, I literally stuffed myself silly. 11 years old, I'm like, I'll take the pasta, I'll take this, and I was stuffing my pockets full of candy. I was like, oh my God, am I allowed to take this stuff? Because it was just free and all over the place. And then what was for me the best moment was, Jodie came out and we kind of got to have this beautiful lunch together. And then Matthew McConaughey was also in the film, was just like, hey, welcome to the film. And he picked me up and like put me on his like, I was sitting on his shoulders, I guess. And we like went and ran around and discovered all of the sets, because they had built all of these really beautiful sets on that film. And so I got to go behind the scenes and explore all of that, the spaceships that they basically built, like, that they like sent up into space. And it was just like I was literally being carted around on Matthew's like shoulders, and he's like, and this is the cool thing, and then we're gonna go over here and we're gonna do this, and it was like the cutest thing in the world. But I was like, oh, I've got candy in my pocket, so like be a little careful. But yeah, that was a little bit of like, I guess they live in a different way than I live. Hollywood is definitely a different world,
You guys are all talking about experiences when you were pretty young. Was there ever a moment where you considered doing anything else, or was it just something you knew pretty early on?
I can't say that I did. Yeah, I mean, I just did someone drop a mic? No.
It was water.
It was water? Oh, yeah. I started at a young age and just kind of had my foot in the door. I didn't even really start for any other reason that it was just kind of a way to get out of school. And then after a while, I really fell in love with movies. There was a specific year, it was 2004. And I remember the movies that came out that year. Actually, the movies I discovered that year that really, I guess got me passionate about film, and I already had my foot in the door. And then, it just became easier to kind of learn on set, and I just kind of craved being on set at that point.
Can we all go through and say what age we started, just so the sort of within context of what we're doing? I was 10 when I started.
I was 7.
I was 4.
I think I started as a stand-up comedian, and I started at 22. My parents wouldn't let me perform. I wanted to be an actress as a child. I'm from Massachusetts. It wasn't really like an opportunity to do that. And I wanted to be an adult actress, which was sort of what I talked about a lot in my stand-up starting, was that like I wanted to be an actress, but not like Shirley Temple or like Kimmy Gibbler from Full House. I wanted to be like Amy Irving, and I wanted to be a woman and have a woman's body and portray female experiences. And my parents were like, yeah, well, you can when you're a woman, but you can't now, and you have to go to school. And so when I went, and when I graduated from college, I started performing at 22 as a stand-up comedian in New York.
Was there ever like she said, something that you wanted to do after you were before you realized you wanted to do that?
No, I always wanted to be an American movie actress. That's just it. Like Madeline Kahn,
not Bollywood.
Ruth Gordon. That's what I wanted, and I waited, and now it's just as delicious as I thought.
Joey, you were like 9 when you were in your first big movie, Ramona and Beezus. How did your friends at school react to that?
They were, some of them were cool about it. I was in a private school at the time, and some of them were really not cool about it. So that was cool. But my real close friends were awesome about it, and I was really excited to get to do that. I didn't have a knowledge of how much responsibility it truly was to be carrying a film. So I wasn't really stressed out, and now that I realize what that was, I was like, whoa, why wasn't I freaking out all the time? Oh yeah, I was 9. So it was it's now that I look back at it, I'm like, wow, that was crazy that I did that. It was so much fun, and it was such an incredible set to be on. Everyone was so wonderful. And also, to answer the question, if I wanted to do anything, before I realized I didn't like math, I wanted to be a mathematician. So that's it. But now I like acting, and I don't want to do anything else.
There are a lot of actors, I feel like, who don't like math. I'm sure that someone's going to get really upset about that.
It's a stereotype.
Yeah,
okay?
I also really don't like math either. Yeah.
I like it, but it's so hard.
Joey, what grade are you in now?
I'm a junior in high school.
Oh, wow. So you're still taking math?
Yes, but I might be getting out sooner than I should be, so that's good. I think I'm going to try to go to college next year or something and see if I can study something I want to study instead of taking illogical math classes that I'll never use. No offense to math teachers, but I don't know how to pay a mortgage, but I know what the Pythagorean theorem is, so that's going to help me.
She brought up college. Jenny, you said you went to Columbia. Did you guys consider going to college? I know there's a lot of pressure to kind of continue your career when you're young and like strike while the iron is hot. Was it something you thought about or think about still?
Well, I mean, I think when you start young, you're basically given this really beautiful opportunity to have a voice, which not a lot of adolescents have. You don't really get as a normal 10-year-old or 4-year-old having people saying, what is your opinion about this? Would you like to make a decision about this? Usually things are sort of decided for you, and so I think that there's an element of, you feel like life is school, and school is life, because you're given all of these opportunities for learning in an incredible way. I mean, you're being put in very kind of magical adult situations where you get to sort of decide and sharpen your own inner voice. And I think that it's funny, a lot of people sort of focus on this sort of downside of Hollywood, of sort of growing up as a young actor and sort of all of the pitfalls. But for me, it's so funny. It's like this really glaringly obvious thing that no one talks about, which is the ability to have a voice at a young age, which encourages you to develop it and become your own artist and become your own free thinker, which I think some parents can encourage and maybe other schools or formats do. But I think pretty much in our society, the way it's sort of planned out, you don't really get to become a free thinker until out of high school, and then all of a sudden you're given this idea of being like, now what do you want to be? Like, what does college represent? And so I think that maybe I'm just going to speak generally for actors growing up in this business. It's not really like you don't really get to a point and you're like, oh, now I want to have a career, which is what most people get to when they're 18 and they say, I want to go to college. It's that, wow, I've actually been developing my instrument and developing my voice for so long that I want to further that. And how do I further that? And that could be through taking certain classes. It could be through traveling. It could be through, whatever, a million things. Continue, just working on film, trying theater. But I think that college is kind of, if you actually do want the voice that you were given and that have been furthering, I don't think that it's part of the natural equation of growing up in this industry. But I mean, it's definitely something I thought about. I mean, I took a year off when I was 18, shaved my head, moved to Lake Tahoe, where I was from, bought a house, and studied photography at a community college. So, I think that as in an actor, and particularly a young actor's path, you should have a lot of deviations. Deviations for your own inner growth and inner strengthening is a beautiful thing. Go and study photography. Go and, build houses somewhere. Go and, take time off for yourself. I mean, all of it is education, but I don't think that it's as important to kind of go through this sort of very societal induced 4-year curriculum to have a degree to then actually have something.
I agree, but
yeah.
I'm going to speak on that in a way that like a lot of people are like that, and I think it's such an intelligent way to think about it too. But also people like me, at first when my mom brought up the idea, when you're out of high school, do you want to go to college? At first I was like, no. Why would I do that? I already have a career. I have a foundation, and I want to do this for the rest of my life. Why would I want to go study something else? And then I really thought about it. And I was like, wait, I really want to go to college. I like learning new things. I like learning. I learn every day. Being on sets is learning too. Reading books. I love reading books. I learn that way. But I think that going to a school where you get to pick what you want to learn, even if it's not something about that you're doing, like even if I don't study film, let's say I study science or something, which I won't, but it's just, I think it's something, it's cool to have a knowledge of something beyond what you do. And if you study film, you have more knowledge of what you do, which is awesome as well. But I think I want to study like the anatomy or something if I go to college. I think that'd be really cool.
I love all these different perspectives. And then, I was going to ask you like what you think it's added to your career having gone.
Well, first of all, I was, both of my parents are artists, and art was like in our house, and I grew up feeling comfortable being creative, but what I wasn't very comfortable with was being social. But I was gregarious, but it just didn't work for me at my high school. Like I just was like, really random dork.
By the way, Jenny went to my high school, and
I
so my
did.
perspective on her is so not how she sees herself.
I
She
saw
was
it
like
that way.
so cool, the valedictorian, but yeah.
So cool, the valedictorian. But I did learn how to socialize, and that was really important to me. Also, like, I really was driven to be an actress, but I didn't know any actors at all. And when I went to college, it was like, I knew that I had gone to a theater program like over the summer, and we had been doing a scene from Arthur Miller's A View from the Bridge, and it's a scene between Catherine and Rodolfo where she's like basically asking him to like teach her how to make love. And we had to do the scene, and I was afraid of boys, and I was horrible at it because I was terrified, and also I didn't know how to act. And the acting teacher was like, you have no energy. This is horrible, you know. And I just remember being like, I'm always getting in trouble for having too much energy. Like, I don't really get this. And I became angry and was like, I don't think I want to go to a conservatory. I don't want somebody to tell me that, like, I'm wrong when I'm just too young and too embarrassed to be doing this. I just want to learn how to sort of break down a story. So I went to Columbia and I studied English and comparative literature, and I just like read stories and learned how to chill out. And for me, I needed that because I am both gregarious and I think a bit vulnerable, and I needed to get a group of weirdos together to show me that I belong somewhere. And I also learned how to do improv comedy there. So everybody has a different path. Like just everyone does. And for me, I was not ready at all to be a performer in public. And so it was good for me. And also, you know, I don't read the Iliad on my spare time. I don't read, you know, like Marx. So I'm glad that I got it done, because otherwise I wouldn't have. And I don't know, it's good to make jokes about, at least. Like, I don't use the education in the typical way that one might, but am I glad that I took the history of Japan? Yeah. I don't know what I use it for, but my brain feels like it has texture, and for me that makes sense at night.
There you go. Let's talk a little bit about some of your recent roles and how you prepared for them. Logan, right now, your movie Fury is out in theaters, and you play sort of like this newbie soldier who's thrown in with all these veterans, and you guys are in a tank together. And so to prepare, you guys actually spent time with your co-stars in a tank, right? And sort of this untraditional way of really getting into the method of the performance, right? Not the traditional rehearsal.
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of, I guess, unusual things for our prep on that film. We all committed, you know, to about a 9-month process for it, and yeah, it was really like the whole year actually, where we did a lot of different things. Yeah, we did spend a lot of time in a tank, learning our positions, being able to perform the way that the soldiers in World War II would have performed, and doing our checklists, everything that we had to know about the tank we knew by the time we started filming.
How different is it spending? Sorry.
Oh, no.
How different is it spending that much time with your co-stars before actually starting?
I find that to be really, really necessary in every movie that I work on. I really want to get to know the people I'm working with, break the barriers, you know, that you have with a stranger, feel comfortable with them. Yeah, you know, I mean, when you meet someone for the first time, you don't, you know, necessarily feel comfortable exploring scenes.
Why are you looking at me for this? Do
I
I
was
make you
looking
feel
this way. I
awkward?
thought
So
I'd
sorry.
include you in the conversation instead of giving you my back the whole time. We're not exactly. I know this is a round table. It's not exactly a round table, though.
It's true. Sorry.
But I mean, as I was saying, though, some of the weird things that we did, we fought every day, which broke barriers quickly. We'd wake up early in the morning and get together and just spar and just beat each other up, and it broke physical barriers, and it was the first time I've ever done that. But it really broke, those physical barriers. We then would go into rehearsals and go into those scenes, you know, in the script and rehearse in a way that I've never done it before. It was extremely violent, like the film is, but it was unique. On top of that, we did a lot of other things, but as a group, it was a really unique experience for us, I could say.
Yeah, that sounds like not like the other, the usual experience.
Yeah, no, it wasn't, not at all.
Jena, and then this year you've done both. You're going to be in Inherent Vice, which is screening here. It's an independent film, and then
about that, by the way.
Me too.
yeah,
Really excited about that. Are you
go.
guys excited about Inherent Vice? I am.
So you did that, and then you shot The Hunger Games, the next installments of that, which I imagine are wildly different experiences. Can you talk a little bit about working on an independent film versus like a behemoth franchise?
Craft service. I mean, for real. I mean, that's the only difference for me. It all goes back to food. But no, I mean, honestly, it's you and a camera and a director's vision. At the end of every day, I mean, that's what you get, whether you're doing probably maybe a giant war scene with like multiple, like, in camera, explosives and things being reset. I mean, still at the end of the day, it's a very simple thing that you're building as a narrative, as this story between, it's, you and the director and your castmates. And, even within, sort of the Hunger Games and sort of this sort of, giant sort of phenomena, at the end of the day, it's still just me and Francis, like, talking about what's real.
The director.
Yeah, Francis Lawrence, sorry. Here I am having a conversation, and there's all these, it's an open conversation. So, I mean, I feel like it's really just budgetary things that I notice the difference. I mean, I guess if I had to be nitpicky, maybe the main difference is on an independent film, there's less time. You have less time to play, you have less time to prepare, you have less time to reset, you have just less time. But that also creates beautiful things. Knowing that you only have, an hour before sunset and you're not going to be able to get back to this location ever again. And here you are, two actors, sort of facing the sun. That's it. And inside of you, that's all that you have. You have an hour to create something, and that's a beautiful thing. And that usually only happens, on smaller films, but even on big films. I mean, even with Mockingjay, it's it's racing light and time and all of these things. So you still feel that precious pressure of creation. But I mean, with Inherent Vice, I don't really necessarily call that a independent film, because I mean that's a film that was. Independently maybe backed, but, because Paul Thomas Anderson is one of the greatest American, directors alive, he's just making film. I mean, he's making cinema. I mean, there's not a price tag on what he creates, for me, what I think. I guess the difference between the two is that we shot that on film. 35 millimeter. I mean, it wasn't digital. So, we're changing mags. He's shooting full mags. I mean, each setup, here I am, this sort of, just a small little actor, and he like blew through 6 mags just for coverage. Like, he shoots and he shoots and he shoots and he inspires. And so, I don't know, for me, walking on that set, I felt even maybe more of a, geez, I'm on something giant, because of I'm such a fangirl of his work,
Right.
That almost in Mockingjay, I feel like it's like a high school reunion where I'm like, oh, great, it's like all my friends, we're like, getting our knees dirty and like, fart jokes and all of it. And so there's like maybe less of like a precious energy that's being created there.
What are all of your feelings on sort of, I know like in the last few weeks there's been movies that have been announced literally until like 2020, like the big Marvel films are all mapped out, and that seems like something a lot of actors are eager to be a part of. I know you were part of a rumor recently, Jena, about being Robin perhaps.
Oh, we're gonna go there?
I mean, you could if you want, but are you guys interested in becoming parts of superhero franchises, especially you, Logan? I know a lot of like leading men. That's kind of something they'd like to do. What are your thoughts?
I'd say it's all about the filmmaker. It's the number one variable that makes a good movie. I like superhero films. Yeah, it's interesting how they're, slated to like 2020 now. It's really what's keeping the industry afloat. They also help the other films, get made because there's money coming in. So those movies make a lot of money. I could say, yeah, it's all about the filmmaker. If there's a good filmmaker making, an interesting, fresh, take on a superhero story, I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Jenna's remaining silent on this one.
Yeah, sorry, no. I mean, honestly, I mean, let's think of it more as a metaphor. I mean, each actor is an independent contractor, right? And so as much as we are artists and look for truth and meaning 90% of the time, 10% of the time we're also, you know, we're businesswomen. We're businessmen, sorry. You're not a woman.
I'm a businesswoman.
You know, and so as I've gotten older, there is an element of that. And so, you know, if I'm an architect, like, and I'm just creating my own designs and, you know, doing these little independent tree houses, like, along comes the idea where I get to help design, like, a mammoth, you know, shopping center from the future. It's like, of course I want to do that. Like, of course I want to be involved with things that are above and beyond anything that I thought I could have created within my own work, you know. But as he was saying, it has to be the right vision, because that can be a train wreck waiting to happen. You know, I mean, you could be involved with too much money, the wrong vision, the wrong director, the wrong producer, you know, the wrong cast doing it for the wrong reasons. And then there you are building, you know, a shopping mall together when you thought you were building a church, you know, like, who wants that? And then you're building it for 50 years. I mean, that's a long time to be involved in something. So as much as I think that there's this amazing thing to be involved in these, you know, these, I guess, what did you call them? Superhero, but also like these sort of, you know, where you know it's going to be a 3-film thing, these like franchises, sorry, I forget about that. You know, it can be such a beautiful thing because it's such a giant thing. And I think as an independent contractor, AKA an artist, AKA an actor, it's a gorgeous thing to sort of reach above and beyond what you can do. But you have to make sure it's the right ship, you know?
Yeah.
Are you Robin? That's what I want to know.
I love
you don't
it,
need to answer
Logan.
this now.
Griller.
We'll talk,
I mean,
we'll
who,
talk.
yeah, everyone is, right?
I love superhero movies. I love superhero movies. I mean, like, you know, what you guys said makes a lot of sense. It has to be the right filmmaker. It has to be, you know, but no one's just gonna throw a superhero movie that's like Thor or something into the wrong person's lap. You know what I mean? Or at least I'll try not to. Hold on.
I got a lot of examples.
No.
Yeah.
Don't give me examples. I love superhero movies.
I know.
Okay. I think it'd be an incredible journey. I mean, there's so many good action films out there, and there's a difference between action films and superhero films, like you said. I mean, I love the idea of someone being supernatural and like having abilities to do things that humans can't do. You know, because I love films where you can play someone kind of like yourself, or you can play, you know, a small town girl, or, you know, a famous girl or whatever. But then when you get thrown like a superhero thing on your lap, you're like, whoa, I don't know how to be a telekinetic genius thing who can turn green. This will be fun. You know what I mean? It's just like an element of surprise, and you know, you never know what it's going to turn out like, and you just hope for the best. But I think what the beauty of like things like that, where they're just so unexpected, is, will it turn out bad? Will it turn out good? It's kind of cool to see the end result, and, you know, even if it does turn out bad, why not laugh about it? That's what I do. I laugh about it. Whenever things don't go the right way, just find humor in tragic situations. But I like the idea of supernatural things and superheroes, and it's just so cool to me because it's not real life.
I agree. It also seems like it would be fun to find the human in the, you know, the extra human
It was
being.
very profound.
And that's when they're good, and that's when they're really, really good for me, is when the human element is there and really pervasive. And I just watched the new X-Men movie last weekend, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I was like, every actor in this is excellent. I also like that it seems like if I were to be in one of those movies, somebody would be saying that I'm good at sports.
Something's occurring.
What is that?
I tried to say I'm good at sports, and there was a noise. But yeah, that seems wonderful. I would love to just be able to run around and like punch someone. You know, it seems great.
But like you said, like finding the human within, because everyone wants to relate to like the characters on screen, but it's kind of cool to bring out the relatableness in such a non-relatable character. It's kind of like why we do this. We bring out things that aren't there.
And then also, just on a side note, talking about like life college and life education is like usually within those films, you know, you're asked to do things and to learn things that nowhere in the world with any other smaller independent film about two people would you be asked to learn how to like do heavy artillery, like learn martial arts, like, you know, understand how to do like, you know, not, I mean, I'm just thinking about for me in Sucker Punch where it's like I had to do pole dancing and then also heavy artillery and then work with Navy SEALs and then also like get trained by martial arts. It's like, it was insane what I had to do. And it was so empowering as a woman, you know, 25 years old at that time, you know, that they saw in this little scrawny whatever, that I could do this, that I could be my own superhero. And so in a way, even in our own private journeys, I mean, us, you know, you're saying it's like interesting because it's not life, but it's also kind of part of our myth of life.
Exactly, because we have to create these things as actors and as artists, really, I shouldn't say. I feel like we are artists, you know what I mean? Like you said, it's about creating things as artists, and it is our real life. It has become our reality, doing things that are nowhere near anyone else's reality, which is kind of amazing in a way, and also a little frightening because, you know, you're like, wow, I have so much pressure to do this one thing, but, you know, what's going to stop me? I can do anything if you really, you know, this is going to sound super cliche, but you can do anything if you put your mind to it. It's true, though.
But that they give you those tools is pretty incredible. You know, that you're given tools to sort of, you know, change your body and change your shape and change your strength and change your ability, and that they, you know, basically you know, people are saying like, I believe in you. You can do this. With like a month of training, you can become a killer. You know, I'm like, all right.
Maybe
okay,
not a
I
good
think I
thing
can do that.
I wanted to ask you guys a little bit about TV and film, because Joey and Jenny, both of you guys this year jumped between them a lot. You were in Fargo. You've been on how many? Married, Bob. You were just telling me upstairs, Bob's Burgers. Like, you could list them off, and then obviously your film careers as well. Do you guys feel comfortable jumping between the mediums, and do you think that more actors are feeling comfortable doing so?
Jenny?
I feel good about it. You know, at the shows I work on tend to be like Married, which is on FX, is shot a lot like an independent film, and, you know, we're single cam. And even the network shows that I'm on, like Parks and Rec, they're still like technically a single cam show, even though sometimes there's two cameras working at once. Like, I think I would probably, if I was just working on like I've never done a 3-camera show, and that's not my preference, so I don't think I will, but because I cannot stand in one spot, and I just don't want to do it. But I think maybe that would be harder. But I think that there is such good work being done on television, especially cable TV, and there are amazing actors. And just as Jena and Logan were saying before, it just comes down to the author of the story and the director and the people you work with, and that there are more and more opportunities out there on cable TV is just a great thing. And, you know, An Obvious Child is a little movie, and yeah, thanks. You know, we made it in 18 days, and yeah, that was quick, but it didn't feel very different, and I just only feel uncomfortable when I'm around people that don't seem nice or smart. So I've been lucky.
Working on, because I was on. We're FX sisters. I was on Fargo. Holla. But working on Fargo was a little bit like working on a movie because of how much people expected from the show because of the movie. And a lot of people got the wrong idea at first. I mean, not a lot. Obviously, it did well. But a couple people were like, you guys are trying to, you know, be better than Fargo, the movie. I was like, hold up. You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. We're not trying to like beat Fargo. We're trying to make like a new add-on to the story and make it different, but still base it on true facts. And it was so cool because I mean, like, I got to work with Billy Bob Thornton, Colin Hanks, Noah Hawley, who was the writer and the producer of the film. Did I just say film? TV show. It was so exciting, and it felt just as big as a movie because of how much pressure was on us. because everyone wanted it to be perfect and right and just the right amount of funny, but also the right amount of really twistedly horrible. And I think that, the directors of each episode and the producers, they nailed it. And I think just being part of it was so amazing. But it did feel like a movie, in a way. But being on TV is really cool because sometimes you reach a different type of crowd than doing film, and a certain number too. Because a lot of people go see films, and a lot of people watch the television, but not a lot of people be like, I watch this show. I mean, a lot of people do say I watch this show religiously, but there's only so many shows you can watch religiously. But I think Fargo did pretty well. It was really exciting to be part of that.
Definitely did really well. Logan, I was going to ask all you guys, when you're younger and you're working with a veteran actor, how do you get over that initial anxiety? Like, you have a lot of intimate scenes with Brad Pitt and Fury. How did you get to know? I mean, it sounds like you spent a lot of time with him, but how did you feel comfortable around him?
Punch him in the face. Yeah, that's a weird. It's a weird barrier, I mean, when you're looking at someone who's so iconic, and you want to feel comfortable with them and collaborate with them and feel free to explore scenes with them in a way that you're not thinking about who they are. It all depends on it really depends on the person. I can say with him it was extremely easy because he's just a really good guy. A really invested, hard-working actor. And in this situation, Brad and everybody else in the cast, we all wanted a really immersive experience. And we gave ourselves to the project. We gave ourselves to our director's vision and his process. And it was easy to kind of get past, I guess, the celebrity of it all.
Is it lame to be like...
Some people, not everybody's like that, by the way. I've worked with people that they keep their position. I guess they. Yeah, I mean it's not even their wall. They want. They like their. Some big egos. Let's put it that way. Or some ego.
I'm sure you won't name any names.
I'm not going to name anybody right now.
He's talking about me, guys.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is it lame to ask for, if you're heading into a scene that you feel has a lot of pressure on it? Will you admit that you're nervous or ask for guidance from someone who's been around for a few years?
I guess not really. I can't say I really get nervous. I can't say I really get nervous about, not feeling like I can get to the place. I get nervous about where you have to go sometimes. And then, my favorite moments are when you're exploring it on the day, when the cameras are rolling, and you can really just be honest in that moment. I have a hard time, doing that in rehearsals and in I guess, readings and things like that, really giving the investment until the cameras are rolling and we're really, in it, in that moment. Because I'm not one who likes to recreate gems, things that happen spontaneously, and so those moments, pretty much.
I saw a video on Instagram the other day, Joey, of you with James Franco from a movie you're filming right now.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, when you're around,
was it the one when he called me a super nerd?
Yes, he did. Yeah. And he seemed to be very playful around you. And I'm wondering, do you ever feel like, oh, I have to act kind of more mature than my age when I'm around adults, or do they try to act more playful around you?
I've always, and I don't mean this in I'm not talking good about myself. People have told me I'm mature for my age, so I don't think it's an effort either way. I think it just kind of we naturally create. I mean, James and I have known each other for, give me a second, 11, 12, 13, 14, 4 years. 4 years. It took me a second. Sorry, I'm bad at math. I told you. So we have a sense of comfortableness with each other. So when we get on a set together, we are always eager to work with each other. And we're so happy and had so much fun. I just spent the whole day stuck in a small car with him, 2 days ago, and we were listening to music, we were making jokes. So I think it's just naturally a friendship that comes when you work with someone, whether it's if you've known them for a really long time or if you're just getting to work with them, but they're really personable. And I don't think he's just a really fun, playful person. Like, I don't have to act more mature than my age to have fun around him, and he doesn't have to act younger to have fun around me. I think what really, when you create a friendship with someone, you have to have things in common, and things to learn from each other. Like he's a big reader. He loves books, and I've read some of my favorite books from his recommendations. And I like reading too. And when we were in the car the other day,
what did he recommend to you? I'm curious.
He recommended me a book called Mouse. There's 2 books actually. It's spelled Maus, and it's written like a comic, but it's a World War II story. And it's quite a profound, two books. They're very profound and very beautiful. I highly recommend them. But we both like reading. We both like to joke around. We both like to listen to music in between takes. We like to laugh at things that went wrong on set sometimes. So I think it's just finding something that you have in common with people.
You guys are all on Twitter, yes? I think you all are. I tweeted at you before this. Talk about your use of it. Do you feel like it connects you to fans? Do you like to be able to address rumors about yourself? Are you just having fun putting up Instagrams? Like, how do you look at it?
I was looking at you.
I tend to be pretty without a filter on Instagram. Yeah. And not on Instagram, on Twitter. I use a lot of the Instagram filters. Bummer joke. I like it. I like, the internet is can either be like a beautiful meadow for creative sprites to dance around in, or just a garbage dump for people with bad manners.
It depends on the day.
To spew their angst, and we're all looking at it through our own portal, and you can see whatever you choose. You really don't have to see everything, and I choose to see it as a place that's nice and fun, and that wants to receive whatever it is that I give it. And I have rules for myself. I don't tend to crap on anyone. I don't like that behavior anyway. It doesn't make me feel good. But I don't get in any Twitter fights ever. I do tweet often on behalf of Planned Parenthood and feminist organizations that I care about, and do activism that means something to me. But for the most part, I like to
talk about bodily functions.
Yeah, talk about my body and about what my experience is as an adult human woman, and to, in a way, instruct people on how to consume me as a public person. That I can be a woman with a sexuality and a sense of humor and a working or non-working gastrointestinal system, and I like it all. And I think that sometimes I just feel like we owe it to ourselves, I don't know, to just be honest. That's nice manners on the internet to me, actually. So I like it. I find it to be very cathartic, but sometimes there are times when my husband's like, put down your phone, and if you have something to say it to me, because I don't want to read anymore that you have PMS. I can tell. And then, so it's okay, I think I like it. I like it a lot.
I love you.
I love you too. I like your vibe.
Nice. What about you two?
I initially signed up for Twitter because of, I just think it's the best news source. And then I started to use it for work mostly, as an insight into behind the scenes, stuff about, whatever film I'm working on, usually. I don't really use it that often. I probably should use it more. Sometimes I talk to my friends on there, but that's about it.
I use it, I don't know, I try to be funny, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it does, so you can see that by how many favorites I get and how many retweets I get. But I like to have conversations with, I don't like this word, but my fans. I guess. And, in the notification center, I like to reply to them. I like to, talk to them. And I like to post things that I find interesting and funny. And I talk to because my sister's on The Young and the Restless. So people like to see us interacting on Twitter. So we interact with each other on Twitter. And my friend the other day, we both like the show Community. So he tweeted me the first lyric of the Spanish rap that Troy and Abed sing on Community. And I finished it with him. We did back and forth, and everyone was like, "What are you saying? This makes no sense. You're saying disco spider and lard." And we're like, "That's right." So I use it to just kind of, let out my happy side. And I also like looking what the trending topics are, what children my age are finding interesting. There was a trend like 2-3 days ago. It was hashtag Alex from Target.
Not even good.
Does anybody? Yeah, so I was really interested about that, and I was like, why? There's people like us who work so hard. And then like this one kid, like someone was like, oh, he's cute, and he's on the Ellen show now. Thank you.
Joey, it was all a marketing ploy. I won't get it. I think it's really cool that you guys can use Twitter to connect with your fans, because back in 1998, when I tried to reach one of my favorite actresses, it was sent back to me. This is a letter to a Jena Malone at International Creative Management.
What? Can I read this? I'm dying.
Would you please do a dramatic reading?
I don't know. I'll do it in
Oh,
a
it's
song.
really good.
No, it's so cute. Oh my gosh, I'm dying.
No, read it aloud, Jenna. Come on. Yes.
Dear Jenna, January 2nd, 1998. Oh, come on, this was so... Hey, my name is Amy, and I'm a huge fan of yours. I saw you in Ellen Foster a while back, and you were so amazing in that. It must have been hard to portray such a troubled girl. You were also awesome in Stepmom. I love the parentheses you're using. How great of an experience was it to work with Susan Sarandon and Julia Roberts? It was awesome. Susan's like this earth goddess, and Julia was just like the coolest woman ever. She turned 30 actually on set, and she rented out Six Flags for her birthday, and I was like, you're the coolest person ever. Okay, I'm so glad we get to do this.
Yes.
I have the dream of becoming an actress one day, and seriously, you have truly inspired me even more to fulfill my dream. Thank you. I saw you on the David Letterman show last night, and you seem so cool and like a great friend to have. I know you have such a busy schedule, but if you could possibly write back to me, you would make me so incredibly happy.
The PS is important, though.
Okay, wait. So she says there's an envelope.
Self-addressed stamped envelope.
I love the fact that you've...
Do you have an email address?
Mine
Well-
is amyzach@aol.com for Zach Hansen.
Oh.
I love the fact that you kept that all these years. I love how you've held on to it all
Yes,
these years.
I'm 13 years old.
And, well, when
My
I found out I
email
was doing
address
this, I was
is
like,
this.
Dad,
Oh.
look in my drawers.
Yeah.
So this brings...
So amazing.
There we go. Do you guys have crazy fans? No.
No, that's not crazy at all. I mean, actually, this is what I was going to say about the whole social media phenomenon and sort of this whole new, democracy of the human voice, that anyone and everyone can have one at any moment, at any time, and that it can be expressed through such a multifunctional medium, is that, in the worst way, an actor becomes, a brand of some sort. You represent something to someone, And I remember when I was younger, we had like a P.O. box in the Valley that was like a fan mail address that like I never checked, and like somehow like sometimes my mom did, and then sometimes like maybe my
Clearly
agent
no one
did. I
checked
know. Clearly we forgot to pay the bill actually, and we didn't even, because it was such a weird thing to do. I didn't really know how to incorporate that into my everyday of like school and letters and things and that. And so I was really bad at it. And I actually have a whole box, not a box, it's a small little box, of like some of these leftover letters, because I just felt so bad about throwing them out. And I've actually been I've been turning them into song, which is not a bad thing.
Ooh, and now I'm scared.
Yeah.
Like, you got to give that back to me then.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was going to say, to be continued. But no, that it really does give you this ability to say, hey, I'm this person, without the sort of, artifice of a magazine or a film to represent or a director or I'm wearing this dress or even this, there's artifice between. It's hard to sort of, even in this moment, it's like you're seating and I'm sitting here and there's things between us. But within this sort of, great social media, revolution that we're in, even though I still don't know anything, I'm like, trending? What's that? I'm like still learning.
I will teach you my ways.
Yeah, I need to know. I need to get in there. I know. I have a sister who's 17, and she's like, Jenna, really? You don't know about a meme? She's like, what
You don't know what a
doing?
meme is?
I do now. I mean, geez. I'm like, I don't know.
Hashtag what?
I only use. I know.
The 15-year-old's going to school you guys, okay?
I know, but it's
But
beautiful.
speaking on that, I still answer fan mail. Am I one of like the
Oh
weird
my
ones who
gosh!
do
Now
that?
I just feel really bad. I
I still answer fan mail. I still do it, and I have a couple bags saved. I never throw out any piece of fan mail. I will keep every single piece for the end of time because I think it's such a special part because the act of writing letters is such a lost thing. I write thank you notes. I don't text people thank you. I don't call them and say I call people and say thank you, but I write thank you notes and I mail them out. I think there's just such a nice thing about this person took the time to sit down, write it, send it out to me. Not just, oh, hey, yo, thanks so much for that thing that you did, or like texting is even worse. So,
You really are mature for your age.
thank you. I love writing back. I think it, and I love hearing, stories because, as much as someone can tweet you a nice thing, there's girls who have, sent me fan mail saying how, they've been bullied in school and they heard that I used to be too. And, there's a sense of relatableness on that level that you don't get through social media. I love social media and I love interacting with people that way. But writing letters, there's so much, it's so personal and I love that. And I hope to never lose that. And I still reply to this day. I have a bag on my desk that I still need to get to and I will. But I just think it's super important to keep the act of writing back to people alive.
That's nice. Who are the people that you guys look up to? Are there actors that you look at and consciously kind of want to model your careers after?
I'm a big Jessica Chastain fan.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing of like modeling a career after, I don't know. I love the idea of actors that any performance can inspire, whether they're a seasoned actor or someone, first time making a film. I mean, there's so many incredible performances out there that I think that I'm more inspired by performances and career choices than necessarily that mold, I want to fit into it. I just feel like because Hollywood is such an individual thing, how you enter it, how you maintain it, how you love it, how you keep it fresh and new to you, that I don't know, it's too hard to be like, well, I want to be like someone else.
But you can admire.
Yeah, I mean, I admire every single person on this stage right now. You're like, ouch, that really hurt.
Likewise.
No, I don't know. I just don't like. I mean, I think that picking an actor and being like, that's the one, is it's hard because then you meet them sometimes and they're not, whatever that is, or you meet actors that you have never even, thought were inspiring, and you meet them on set and their work ethic is just so incredible, and the way that they treat people and how they lose themselves in a scene, and you would have never known that they're actually far more inspiring than someone that's sort of up in flashing light. So.
There's still sometimes I remember you had said you liked Gilda Radner growing up.
Yeah, I love Gilda Radner. I love women like Gilda Radner, Ruth Gordon, Madeline Kahn, Rosalind Russell, Amy Sedaris. I like women that Lily Tomlin cannot be replaced by anyone else, and what they did was so specific to them, but they also had a really interesting and personal sense of style, a real grip and pride in their sexuality, and really put their personality and their sexuality and their I guess their hearts, their sensitivity out there was all part of it. And And I that's what I like. That's also why I love John Candy. Like if you look at Uncle Buck, it's like it's a plot that you're like, oh, dumb uncle comes when the parents go away, whatever. But it's an amazing movie because John Candy is like the most sympathetic, original person to me. So I think because I always felt like, well, I don't know that I'm going to be like a bikini lady, like I'm not going to be like an American bikini lady, but, like when people wear bikinis and they're like, oh, it's a really sexy type of bathing suit. Go on the internet and you'll see them. They're all over the internet. Bikinis, BIKINI. But I think I like people who reminded me as a kid in a haunted house in Massachusetts who didn't know how the hell to get to Hollywood, that the most important thing is to fill a space that, as Jenna said, is just your shape, like not someone else's mold. But there are many examples of people who are like, yeah, like, this is a Lily Tomlin role for Lily Tomlin, and Lily Tomlin did that, and that I find that very inspiring.
You know who I think is underrated, who I love very much? Queen Latifah. Just putting that out there.
I think she's rated. I think she's rated high.
I know, but people don't.
I don't think she's underrated.
No,
I think she's queen.
Oh no, she is Queen Latifah. But nobody talks about her anymore. Why?
I will write you a note on my stationery about Queen Latifah.
Thank you.
And how much I love her. Her name is Dana. She seems
her.
cool.
Well, doesn't she have a talk show now?
I love her so much.
Doesn't she have a talk show?
Yeah.
She does. Yes,
she's
she
busy
does.
with her talk show, and then she'll do movies again. Yeah, she's the best.
She's literally queen.
She was actually my inspiration.
Do you guys still have to audition, or do you have, when you think back on times you did, do you have like a particularly horrible audition memory that was just really embarrassing? You do. You do.
Still have to. I don't know. I think that regardless of place and structure, you should read for things. I mean, I just don't think it's awkward. I mean, I can't imagine actually being a director and just casting someone on the idea of them. I mean, at least just have some sort of courting process. Like, there has to be a courting process,
Yeah,
if you were directing, though, and you wanted to cast someone like Robert De Niro, would you say, will you read for me?
Maybe not reading, but I'd want to sit and talk and see, but yeah, maybe I would. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of nice to read for things.
I've done that once where I was offered a project and I did it, and
then you get on set and you're like,
you want to earn the role, you want to earn the approval of the filmmaker, and I didn't have that, and constantly I was doubting myself, thinking, well, I'm not right for this. I feel like there's someone better out there for this role. I don't know why I'm here. Yeah, I think auditioning's so important, so that you see that you're on the same page with the filmmaker's vision.
But it's a horrible, dirty, crazy, intensive, the worst, despicable processing. It's literally like, yeah.
It's great, but just like she said, it's not really gross. Well, I mean, yeah, depends. If it's a hot day in LA and you have an audition by Hollywood and Highland, yeah, it's kind of gross. But I like auditioning because I like to meet someone before I get in front of the camera with them. But I think that it depends on, what the role is. If someone's offered a role, clearly the director had something in mind, and hopefully that person can execute it. But yeah, reading is really important. It is.
They are giving me the cut it off sign. I know. I wanted to ask you guys, because I know everyone out here is probably just one final word. I'm sure they want to know, if there was something you guys wish you had heard earlier in your career, because I bet there's a lot of aspiring actors and filmmakers out there. What would you tell them? What was something you wish you had known earlier on? Really quick before they kill me.
Don't follow anyone else's advice. I mean, honestly, it's so about your own voice. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the number one thing. It's trust your instincts.
Yeah.
Don't do anything else except what you believe is right for whatever you're approaching, whatever you're trying to do. Bring yourself to the role or to the project.
Approach it like a boss. Just own it. Whatever you're doing, doesn't matter. If you think you look weird, step out and look weird. Don't be like, oh, I look weird. Like, I've had to like wear things on a set where I'm like, what am I wearing? And I'm just like, you know what? What am I wearing? It's cool. And then, let's say I'm on a red carpet and I have a wardrobe malfunction and it doesn't quite look the way I thought it was gonna look. I'm like, yeah, I had a wardrobe malfunction and I'm here. That's what happens. You just gotta own everything you do and have confidence. It's a process to learn, because it was developing confidence in this like industry. I'm pretty young for, and people are always judging, and, there's so much, ooh, will she turn out like a train wreck when she grows up? But I just think when you have confidence and you own yourself and you be a boss, don't worry about it.
There you go. On that note, let's thank them for coming. Thank you guys so much. And let's let them go first and have a great night.